Nehemiah's time, what is the wall that we're going to deal with today? Mamash, we're going to be dealing with the wall. The wall, not the war. The war will be next period. The attempt at a war. And we're going to learn about Yerushalayim and learn what exactly Nehemiah is doing and how Nehemiah continues to mobilize the people. That's really what he's doing. How does he mobilize them? How does he bring them? So we're talking since Nehemiah arrived from Paras. We've seen how he's trying to get the people involved, right? You guys remember Nakuma v'nivnena, right? We'll get up and we will build. He finally got that out of them in the last chapter, and that was what he really wanted. That's what he wants to cause. He even did some manipulative, right? According to Rashi and the Mitzudot, he broke the walls. Remember, he actually broke the walls. In other words, he made the cracks wider so that the people will wake up and that they'll see. Let's take Perek Gimel. Perek Gimel is long, okay. As the chapters in Nehemiah go, it's a long Perek, and it's very repetitive, okay. So please don't fall asleep in boredom as we read the chapter. Let's go ahead, okay? Because I think we really got up to there, Nachon? Yeah, we got really up to there. If you remember the very end of chapter 2, just important to remember, was that the enemies of Judah, who at first, were like, yeah, go ahead, let's see these Jews. Then when they see that the people are really invested in this and that they're going to do it, then they start getting a little nastier, right? And we said they use words that are emotional, right? They don't do anything. Yal'igu, yivzu alenu. These are terms. They will make fun of us. They'll embarrass us. They're trying to knock down the morale. It's really a battle of morale. In other words, will the Jewish people be able to bring themselves together and convince themselves that they can do it? That's really what can they convince themselves that they can actually do this project? And we said on a deeper level, can they actually accept the fact that they are the Jewish people? They have a say in the world. They have a say on the stage of nations. They are not just a dispersed people. They're coming back home to be Am Yisrael, Be'eretz Yisrael. That means something. It's not just a person in a place. Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael means something. What exactly does it mean? That's what they're trying to figure out. What we're still trying to figure out. But to understand that we have a place here, we have an important place here. Nehemiah is putting all that, he's invested all that into building of the walls. That's really what it is. And the walls are going to allow us to differentiate between you and us, between the Amim, between the nations who are around us and the people, Am Yisrael themselves, and start build their own identity, who we are. That's what the walls allow. Okay, and now they're building the wall. This chapter, they build the wall. Okay, it's actually the beginning of building the walls. Let's just read it. It's a very interesting chapter. Again, very repetitive as you see. Let's read it and then we'll see. We're going to read the whole chapter. Asher, are you starting it up? I'm supposed to put this on me? Wow. Okay. There it is, folks. Yeah, Asher, you're up. Chapter 3. Everyone, inside. We are reading it. Go.
Eliashib, the Kohen Gadol, arose along with his brethren, the Kohanim, and they rebuilt the sheep gate. They sanctified it and erected its doors. They sanctified the wall up to the tower of Hamiah and up to the tower of Hananel. Next to him, the man of Jericho built the wall, and next to him, Zakur, son of Imri, built. The children of Hassenah built the fish gate. They roofed it and erected its doors, its locks and its bars. Next to them, Meremot, son of Uriah, son of Hakuz, reinforced the wall next to them. Meshulam, son of Brichia, son of Meshezabel, reinforced. Next to them, Zadok, son of Bana, reinforced. Next to them, the Tekoites reinforced, but their dignitaries but their dignitaries did not put their necks to the labor of their Lord. Zoyada, son of Paseah, and Meshulam, son of Besodeah, reinforced the old gate. They roofed it and erected its doors, its locks and its bars. Next to them, Melatiah the Gibeonite, Zadon the Meronotite, and the men of Gibeon and Mizpah reinforced up to the seat of the governor of the Trans-Euphrates region. Next to him, Uzziel, son of Harhaiah of the goldsmiths, reinforced. Next to him, Hananiah, son of the perfumers, reinforced. They fortified Jerusalem up to the broad wall. Next to them, Raphael, son of Hur, the officer over half the district of Jerusalem, reinforced. Next to them, opposite his house, Zedaiah, son of Harumath, reinforced. Next to him, Hattus, son of Hashabneah, reinforced. Malchizah, son of Harim and Hashub, son of the governor of Moab, reinforced a similar measure. At the tower of the ovens next to him, Shallum, son of Halohesh, the officer over half the district of Jerusalem, reinforced it together with his daughters. Hanun and the inhabitants of Zanoah reinforced the gate of the valley. They built it and erected its doors, its locks, and its bars, along with 1,000 cubits of the wall up to the dung gate. Malchizah, son of Rechab, officer of the district of Bet Cherem, reinforced the dung gate. He built it and erected its doors, its locks, and its bars. Shalun, son of Kol-Hoseh, officer of the district of Mizpah, reinforced the spring gate. He built it, covered it, and erected its doors, its locks, and its bars. And also the wall of the pool of Shelah up to the king's garden and up to the steps descending up from the city of David. Beyond this, Nehemiah, son of Azbuk, the officer of half the district of Beth-Zur, reinforced up to the opposite the graves of David and up to the man-made pool and up to the house of the warriors. Beyond this, the Levites reinforced Rehum, son of Bani, next to him Hashabiah, officer of half the district of Keilah and his district. Reinforce, reinforce. After him, their brothers under Bavai, son of Henadad, officer of half the district of Keilah, reinforced. Next to him, Ezer, son of Zeshua, officer of Mizpah, reinforced a similar measure opposite the ascent to the armory of the corner. After him, Baruch, son of Zakai, enthusiastically reinforced a similar measure from the corner up to the entrance of the house of Eliashib the Kohen Gadol. After him, Meremot, son of Uriah, son of Hakoz, reinforced a similar measure from the entrance of Eliashib's house up to the end of Eliashib's house. After him, the Kohanim, men of the plain, reinforced. After him, Benjamin and Hashub, opposite their houses. After him, Azariah, son of Maaseiah, son of Ananiah, reinforced near his house. After him, Binui, son of Henadad, reinforced a similar measure from the house of Azariah up to the corner and up to the tower.
Hold on, everyone. We're almost done. Keep on going.
Palal, son of Uzai, opposite the corner and the tower that extends from the king's upper house, which is adjacent to the present courtyard. After him, Pedaiah, son of Perosh, the Netinim, who dwelt in Ophel, up to opposite the water gate on the east, and also the extending tower. After him, the Tekoites reinforced a similar measure from opposite the great extending tower up to the wall of the Ophel. The Kohanim reinforced above the horses' gate, each one opposite his home. After him, Zadok, son of Immer, reinforced opposite his house. After him, Shemaiah, son of the Shechaniah, guard of the eastern gate, reinforced. After him, Hananiah, son of Shelemiah, and Hanun, the sixth son of Zalav, reinforced a similar measure. After him, Meshulam, son of Berechia, reinforced opposite his chamber. After him, Malchizah, the son of the goldsmith, reinforced up to the house of the Netinim and the merchants, opposite Hamifkat gate. Up to the tower of ascent, the smiths and merchants reinforced between the tower ascent and the sheep gate.
Okay, that was all good. Shall we test you guys on that? Or who was the third person to build, and how much did he build? Right. Okay. I'm sorry we bored you here, but I have a michuyavut. I feel that when the Navi writes something, we read it. Okay, even though that's an interesting question. It's good you picked up the dung gate, right? Sharash Bot is there.
I thought that was a gate that was made by one of the kings, since it doesn't sound so Jewish. Yeah, it
We'll see.
sounds so Jewish.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Was the Lion's Gate made after?
The Lion's Gate is it's not here.
Because I heard that a king had a dream about a lion and everything and all, and they named the gate after it.
So I don't know, that may be some kind of a gada about that gate. I'm not sure. It's definitely not mentioned here. It apparently wasn't the time of Bayit Sheni. It wasn't from Bayit Sheni. It's a later gate. Shar Ashpot that you mentioned also, we'll see also, is not in the same place as Shar Ashpot as now. We'll see it's in a different place, but it's also where they took out the garbage. So that was Shar Ashpot. But one second, let's finish up, Asher. Now that we breathed a second, let's go on. Okay, let's finish up the last. It's just the last 6 verses.
It happened when Sanballat heard that we were building the wall, that he became enraged and he grew extremely angry, and he ridiculed the Jews. He spoke before his compatriots and the populace of Samaria and said, "What are these Jews weaklings doing? Will they reinforce the wall? Will they bring offerings? Can they finish in a day? Can they restore the stones out of the mounds of dirt when they have been charred?" Tobiah the Ammonite was next to him, and he said, "Even that which they build, if even a fox were to go up, he would breach their stone wall. Hear, our God, that we are an object of scorn. Return the humiliation.
Remember that word?
Own head, make them the spoil in a land of captivity. Do not cover up their sins, nor let their transgressions be eradicated from before you, for they have revealed the builders. Yet we built the wall when the entire wall was joined halfway. The people were hardened to accomplish."
The people's heart was there to do. That's how the chapter ends. But just really, the wall was reconnected. Tikasher, like kesher, like connected, ad chetzia, to the half, which means apparently it was halfway up. Okay, in other words, it was built, it was connected all the way around up to the half. So it's still not protecting, right? I mean, people could still clamor over it. It's not high enough, but it is already, suddenly when you look at it, it's like, oh, look at that, there's a wall. Okay, remember what Nehemiah did when he went on that nightly stroll, is he made the cracks, right, the breaches of the wall. So there are no more breaches at this point. It's just not really built up to the top. So now we're going to see the enemies obviously are going to move ahead. If at first they were just laughing, well, suddenly here at the end of the chapter we see Sanballat getting very angry, right? Suddenly it was a great, right? Vayicharlo vayichas harbeh. He's both angry and very angered. It's two terms of anger. And suddenly that goes up. He wasn't angry before. Before he was dismissive. He was amused. He was derisive, right? He said, now suddenly, oh my gosh, what is going on here? So he gets angry, and then they get a little more. The words are, we'll see that at the end. We probably won't get there today, but at some point we'll get to the end of this chapter where he's getting a little stronger in his words. What? We'll let them do it. They think we'll allow them to finish the walls. And then next chapter, the whole chapter will be dealing with the enemies, because really that's where it is, the enemies and the continuation of the building. Tov. Let us first, just to get a visual of Yerushalayim. Okay, let's open up your maps. Asher, I sent you something now. Send it to everyone, please. Okay, it's another mamar that's important to see.
Better map than this? Or
They're two different maps.
because this is a little bit.
Yeah, but I think both are going to be important. Okay, everyone, let's take a look. Before we go anywhere at all, we're going to learn about Yerushalayim a little bit, okay? So you know what? Maybe open up that thing I just sent. Okay, everyone open up on your phones. Everyone has a phone? No Nokia's here? Okay. Everyone open up your phones and just like start scrolling down. Okay? Start scrolling down and down. Down. You're gonna like see a picture of the king standing there. And then like there's like a picture. I'll see where it is. You have like a picture of ancient writing. You guys saw it?
Everything's blurred. All the pictures
Yeah. Well, the pictures they go on after a little bit. You'll get to like a picture of ancient writing. And after that, I want to go to the picture after that.
I just got to the bottom.
Wow. No, well, they become less blurry. Here, you know what? There's all kinds of interesting things.
Which picture is it?
Yeah, the pictures are gonna go on. You know, you could even start.
It's loaded. It's already loaded. Website loaded. I want results, not conjecture.
You know, actually, don't go. Go back, further back up. Now I see there's a better picture further up. You guys, there's a picture of Yerushalayim with lots of letters around it. Hebrew letters around it.
in the laptop, you can see more.
Right, you can. But go down. You guys see it? This is what it looks like.
This is right outside of the
Good. So wait,
walls, right?
keep on going down. Right.
That's the very last picture.
So go
I
back
just
up.
saw that on Shabbat.
Yeah, that's right. So these are the pictures.
So is this the picture you're talking about? Or
No.
That was. So go up a little bit. Go up a little. You'll see Yerushalayim.
Not this one?
Not that one. Go
This
up.
one?
No, keep on going. Yerushalayim with
Oh,
with
that?
letters around it. Yeah.
Oh, Aleph Bet
You got it?
Vav Zayin Chet Tet.
Yeah. All those letters. You see them? You got them?
Oh, you're just cracking me up, Ezra.
I got it right.
You got it? Okay, good. Everyone have it? Hirsch, you got it? You have it? Oh, yeah.
That one?
Not yet.
There's a shortcut. Just click any picture and scroll through them.
Thank you for the people who understand something.
No,
Okay.
I mean, just click one of them and then it brings up only pictures.
Great. Okay, great. Yofi. All right, so let's take a look at Yerushalayim here. Just on the first, just a general sense. Who has a good grasp of Yerushalayim now? The Ir Atika, the old city.
None of us.
Hanan, sort of. Malti, you have Yerushalayim in your mind? Let's go now. Before we go there, let's close our eyes for a second, and we'll go on a tour of Yerushalayim. Okay? When we go to Yerushalayim, to the Ir Atika, right? I'm talking to the old city.
Okay.
We usually either go through Shar Yafo or Shar Tzion, right? Anybody with everyone? Whoever doesn't know what I'm talking about, raise your hand.
There's like
so
more
now
games
can you
that-
tell me
With
something?
the big mezuzah on the
The big mezuzah on the side. They both have.
That's
all of them.
That's sure.
Wait,
The one with the bullet holes, I'm pretty sure. Do they all have bullet holes? in them?
a lot of them have bullet holes. There's one big Shar, guys, right above Mamila. Does that help you? You know, like the mall.
Closer to the
Oh,
train as opposed to the one.
The
closer to
one
the
that
bus.
goes to the.
Oof.
Wait, are you talking about the one that goes to the wall?
All of them go to the wall. All the gates of Yerushalayim. You go in and then you go to the wall.
Take the train, you go to the one we're talking about.
City Hall.
Right by the city hall.
Right,
That's
Walk down.
okay. That's Shar Yafo.
The big
Yafo.
That's Shar Yafo. You go in like this, right? You like goes in and then makes a left.
So I heard
Both
from,
of them
I
do.
heard from Rabbi barely that there's two in the Muslims, two in the Christians,
No,
one in
you're
the
going too in now.
one in the freaking.
No, come back.
Armenians, but said that.
Yeah, and then there's two in the Jewish quarter.
It could be, but right now I'm just focusing on us.
City Hall. You get down from City
Yeah.
Hall, the last station.
Yeah, Shar
You go
Yafo.
across the road, and you see a big gate, right?
Mhm.
You start
Good.
to
That's it. That's Shar Yafo. Okay. Shar Yafo, guys. Let's take a look here at this picture we have. Okay. Shar Yafo would be sort of
Hey.
no, not like Zion.
Should be closed. I don't know why.
So I'm sorry. Open up your eyes and look at your picture. Thank you, Arya. Look, it's around Zion, where the Zion is there. Okay? Wait, that is, just to get an impression, that is the northwest part of Yerushalayim. Okay? When you so look at the Zion, right? You go in, right? You go in, that's Shar Yafo, sort of, okay? And then you start going down, right? If you go through the Arab Shuk, if you go through the Arab market, it sort of goes straight down
We are going to
till you hit.
or 10.
You're going down, towards Tet. Thank you, towards Tet, and there you see Beit Hamikdash. You guys see the Beit Hamikdash between the Tet and the Aleph there, right? So that's where you hit the Kotel. You go straight down from there. So if you just take a picture of what we have there, Be'etzem, Yerushalayim at this time, in Nehemiah's time, doesn't really include much of the northern part of Yerushalayim, which now is the Arab and Christian quarters. That is a later addition to Yerushalayim. Most of Yerushalayim is in the south. Okay, the southwest, I would say, almost. What we now see as the Armenian quarter and the Jewish quarter. That was most of what Yerushalayim was. The north really pretty much ended at the wall of Harabait, the northern wall of Harabait, which is, in our terms, I guess if you're standing at the Kotel, you're standing at the Kotel and you turn, so the Kotel's on your right. Okay, everyone got that in their mind? You turn, the Kotel's on your right. Maybe another couple hundred meters in front of you, that would be the end of Yerushalayim. Okay, that was the end of Harabait, at the end of Yerushalayim at that time. Pretty much. Okay, that's pretty much.
There's a wall, Rob, that goes from Tet to Hay.
Good. We're going to deal with that wall. That wall is going to be a huge question as we deal with it now.
Tet through Hay. Oh.
Yeah, you see the wall that goes to Tet to Hay?
Yeah.
To the west of that would have been not part of it.
Not part of what?
The old.
So now let's start. It is relevant, but now let's start building lat. What Ariel just said. You guys see that wall that goes from Tet to Hay?
Okay.
And there's a wall that sort of goes from Tet to Bet under Beit HaMikdash.
Tet to Bet under the.
Yeah.
Under Beit HaMikdash, there's like the Tet and then a Bet. Just do a imaginary wall. That little triangle, Tet Hey Bet. You guys see the Tet Hey Bet triangle? That's Ir David. That was the original city of Yerushalayim. When David HaMelech goes and captures Yevus, what's called the city of Yevus, that is pretty much, it's not exactly, but pretty much, yeah, exactly. It's not so big. But just one second, so that we don't make a mistake.
What?
So we don't make, guys, one second, guys, stop. No cracking up here. Look here. First of all, you should. Wow, I'm getting lost here. I did the thing you said. I touched the picture and it started jumping all over the place. It goes to the bottom of Ir David now. In other words, the wall that we have now, the walls of Yerushalayim, which go right by Shar Hashpot, right, the dung gate, where the buses come in and out of.
Okay, that's
right.
the dung gate?
That's the dung gate where they come in, right by the. That's Shar Hashpot. That is not the wall in this time. The wall on the bottom by the Dalit and the Hay. That is all the way down in Silwan. Did anyone go to Ir David? Did anyone ever go to Ir David? Good. Yeah. The Shiloach. Go in the water well in the Shiloach in Ir David. Yeah. If you haven't been there, you guys have to be there. I'll tell Rav Menachem.
The people goes for a tour inside?
You go on a tour, yeah. And you go and you walk in the water, in the tunnel.
Yeah. I've been there.
Guys, okay, that's chisaron. We're going to have to say, Rav Menachem is going to have to take you guys there as soon as possible. So there, Ir David, that's here. In other words, it's on the other side of the wall. There's like an Arab village that sort of goes down. I don't know, you wouldn't notice it. If you only went to the Kotel, you would almost never know there's Ir David. Really, that's where David lived. Okay, it's on the slope going down from Shar Hashpot till the bottom of the valley. Okay? That's called Ir David. Now too, it's called Ir David.
Excuse me, so you said it's from a triangle from Hey, Tet, and Bet?
Hey, let me take a look 1 second. Hey, Tet, and Bet, yeah.
That triangle is the city of David?
That's the city of David. Okay? Now, so that's the original, guys, listen, that's the original city of David. David, Shlomo, all up until King Chizkiyahu, which is hundreds of years later. That's pretty much Yerushalayim, except anyone who knows their Shmuel Bet well, who knows their Tanakh well, knows that when, at the very end of David's life, there is a horrible plague, and David sees the malach, right? He sees the angel with the sword standing in a place called Goren Arvana Yevusi. That is Har Habayit. You guys see where Beit HaMikdash is now on this picture? So that really was north of the city. There was nothing there. That big plateau there, there was nothing there. That wasn't part of the city. It was outside the city. David sees the malach. He goes there and he buys that land, right? He remember memories of Abraham in Hebron. David buys that land and he says, "No, I'll give it." He says, "No, I'm buying this land." And he buys Har Habayit, right? Again, like Chazal said so long ago, there are 3 places in the world that the Goyim have no claim to: Hebron, Harabait, and Shechem.
That seems like the only places they want.
That's very,
beauty
it's
of
it's amazing, right? This
Why
was
do
a
you-
statement that was said so long ago. Why do they want Shechem is Yosef's kever?
Oh.
That's
Do we
it.
have Shechem?
Now
You can go to it.
you can go there.
We went there
You
for
were
a
there.
trip.
That I have never
No,
been.
we went there for a trip in 2020.
Yeah, fair. So that's better.
No,
Okay,
I'll send to the group
points
when
off for me. But yeah, you guys, there's a kever Shechem. You have to go in with heavy army escort. You go into Shechem, which is right now territory
My
A.
father remember going
You
to
go?
Kever Rachel
You're
without
better
the
with
wall.
Right. So I also remember that.
And when I went was with the wall.
So
With my father.
So Kever Rachel is now it's a different place. But anyway, so Harabait was bought by David, and Shlomo builds Beit HaMikdash there. So then Yerushalayim sort of went up north a little bit more, had the whole area of Harabait. Look here from Tet, right? You see that little sivuv there. Tet, Yud Aleph, right? Until Aleph. That sivuv, that was added to Yerushalayim in Shlomo's time. Now Yerushalayim was sort of a long oval. Then Chizkiyahu really enlarged the city. That's Tet He Zayin. That's called the upper city or the newer city. And that wall goes all the way around. That's the wall that we sort of see, sort of from Shar Yafo, that goes around. Okay, that's sort of what we see. Not exactly, but sort of. Okay, Shar Tzion, that's where they build the fortress of Shar Tzion up there. That's why the grave of King David, has anyone been to the grave of King David?
Not yet.
It was
So,
probably not the grave of King David, because it wasn't even close to the city at that point. It was actually quite far from the city. It was way up the hill. The kings of Kivrot David, we just saw it here. As if someone didn't fall asleep as we were reading it, there were Kivrei David. It said it here as we were reading this, and it was talking about the southern wall. The wall on the southern southeastern wall, which is where Ir David is, where the city of David is, which would make a lot of sense. That's where the Kvarim of there, not all the way up there on the mountain, right? Think of all the steps you have to go down, right? When you come through the old city and you have to go down all the steps to the Kotel, they would have to go up all those steps to get to the further even.
So, Arav, Nehemiah, when he went down that night, he's going towards Hay and Dalit, right?
Right, very good. Nachon. That's exactly right. That's where he's going to go.
But
We're going to
it's
see that.
steep.
What?
It's really steep. It's like a cliff.
Yes, that's right. And that's why he has trouble going with the horse. Remember, he has trouble. The horses couldn't make it there. They were good. That's right. But we're going to now there's a machloket, okay? Now there's a machloket between the Mefarshim, for the archaeologists, the Mechakrim. What is the city that Nehemiah rebuilt? What is the wall? Which wall are we talking about here? And if you look very carefully, you see there very clearly 2 walls. That could be on the western side, the Tet Tehei wall, or the Tet circular Tehei wall. Right? There's the Tet Tehei wall that goes like that, and there's the Tet Tehei wall that goes all the way around the new city in the west. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Which one, Arav?
Look, there's a wall that goes from Tet straight to Hay,
Right.
and there's a wall that goes all the way around the city.
Uh-huh.
So, which wall did he build? That's the question. Which wall did he build?
Probably the smaller wall.
I'm thinking
I
of
had to guess.
Hay Dalit, coming from Hay Dalit towards there, because he went and checked those area. So most probably he's building the wall towards the city of David and towards the Beit HaMikdash.
So the smaller wall, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, it would make
Well,
sense
we just have to think. It's
there's not that many people, and you have to prioritize, right? You can accomplish building that wall short enough to defend yourself. Building this entire, I don't know, this entire area is just not very plausible given their circumstances.
Yafeh. That's what most of the modern day Mechael agrees with Shua, and that's it.
Since my middle name is Nehemiah, I'm sure he had the same thinking.
There we go. It's a Gilgul. Anyway, but that in other words, it's interesting. Now look at the map I gave you guys. Look at the map I gave you guys. Okay? And look at the huge difference you would have. You see the map I gave you guys? You see Harabait? You see that little there's like a square on the right? You guys see it? It says Shar Hatzon, Beit HaMikdash. You see there's like a little square on all the way on the right. In the middle, all the way on the right, there's a little square that says Beit HaMikdash. You guys see it?
Wait,
Right in the middle, all the way on the right.
oh,
There's a little,
this map.
on the map I sent you guys. Right? You see Beit HaMikdash? You can sort of see it also, an outline, sort of. Okay?
Yeah.
And then you see, if you follow the leftern wall of Beit HaMikdash, like
This lighter
Kotel
color.
HaMaravi. What?
This area, this whole lighter color?
No, just in that little
Or just
square,
this?
just in the little square of where Beit HaMikdash is, which is Betzim Harabait. That's Harabait. Okay, that's the Temple Mount. And if you go on the, again, just to get
Also, it makes
it's
more
very
sense,
important.
too, because the high ground is going to give you the advantage.
1 second, we'll talk about the high ground in a minute. The up is north. Okay, it's really done well. Up is north, right is east, west, and south. Okay, so if you go to the western wall of Har Habayit, of that square, and you sort of just go straight down, that's the wall. That's the wall we saw on the picture on the internet. Okay, that's the wall. We go sort of all the way down. Okay, until you hit the bottom. Okay, that would be it's much smaller than the larger square you see that goes from Shar Hatzon. If you guys see on the very top right of Harabayit, there's a word that says Shar Hatzon, and then it goes all the way to the left down, and there's like a square. That's the larger city. The question, what exactly he did? That's going to be the diun here. And I'll just give on a quick thing. Look at your map. Look at your map again, the map I sent you. You see where it says Shar Hatzon? You guys see? It's right above where it says Beit HaMikdash, it says Shar Hatzon.
Okay.
That's where it starts. That was the first verse in our chapter. It says Eliashiv, the Kohen Agadol, built Shar Hatzon. You guys see it?
Yud. Yeah. Yud Aleph and Yud.
Okay, yeah, right, on the other picture. Great. Okay, Meule. So Yud Aleph and Yud there. Okay, Shar Hatzon. And then they start walking around and they start building from Shar Hatzon. And then there are other gates mentioned. There's Shar HaYeshana is mentioned. Shar HaDagim is mentioned. You guys see, if you on the map I gave you, Shar HaDagim is up. You guys see it goes up above Shar Hatzon. There's a Shar that says Shar HaDagim. Okay? That's in the north. If you go like up from Shar Hatzon and a little to the left, there's Shar HaDagim. Then if you come back down to the left and keep on going to the left, there's Shar HaYeshana and Shar HaPinah. Then go down south until you hit Shar Hagai. You guys see Shar Hagai? That's where Nehemiah went out. Remember it says Shar Hagai. Nehemiah went out from Shar Hagai. He walked around the wall till he got to the pool. Remember the pool of the serpent, or the pool of the jackal. Remember we saw last time? Yeah. We're here now. This is Shar Hagai. We went from Shar Hatzon to the west. Shar HaPinah went down south, and we hit Shar Hagai. And we said that's where Nehemiah went out that night. He went out here, and then he started going down on the southern base of the wall, right?
But
looking at the wall, knocking it down, hitting
If
things.
he was only building the smaller walls, why would he bother destroying the
One
outer
second.
walls?
And then he went back up to Shar Hagai, and then he went till Shar Ha'ayin. There it is. You see Shar Ha'ayin, which is the very bottom right. And then Shar Hashpot, right there, it's there too. Shar Hashpot, just to understand, Shar Hashpot here is way south of where Shar Hashpot is now. Shar Hashpot nowadays is up here somewhere. Okay, that's the new wall of Yerushalayim. It's here. He went down here, and then he goes back through Shar Hagai and comes back to the city. But as Shua said correctly, Shar Hagai, according to that's in the new city. Remember, that's the very end. That's sort of where Shar Tzion is now. Sort of. Okay, right above Gei Ben Hinnom. Right above Gei Ben Hinnom is the valley. Right before you go into Yerushalayim, right where they have the big amphitheater. Right, it's like a green under. I don't know. You guys.
The buses go that way. Usually the 1, the 3,
Yeah.
the 38.
Yeah, that's where they go up to. Right, that's where they come out of. When you come from the Kotel out on the bus, and you come down to Geben Hinnom. Right. That's the valley here. Right now it's it's a green place. It's nice, Dafka. But according to what we said, that he only built the inner city, so that's wrong. Sharagai is not there. Sharagai is going to be here. Really, really low down. Really much more eastern. And so then Nehemiah didn't really make such a large trip, especially if you say he did it one night, right? And he went there. It may have been like this little stretch of the wall. And that's sort of what he broke around. Okay? It's a machloket. It's really a machloket. In other words, it's a disagreement by the Chokrim. Okay, I was reading into it. About what really was the city. What did Nehemiah rebuild? What was the wall? Did he do the large-scale wall all around the city, or did he only build this one little, it's not so little, but the stretch that we know of, Ir David? Now, that wall we see isn't really. It's better to look on the map on your thing and on the internet, because the wall there isn't really only from Har HaBayit, it's a little further. Now, it's sort of like in the middle of the old city. That's sort of where it's the middle of the old city, sort of where all the restaurants are.
There was a wall running through the restaurant. Yeah, it
went right through the restaurants. Very hard for business. But where all the restaurants are, pretty much that's the wall coming down. It's a little further. It's not that tiny. And that wall came down to Ir David, sort of like cut through. Right through there's the bagel place there, Nachon, the Holy Bagel or whatever it is, went right through Holy Bagel, so around there. Okay, they actually found part of that wall, by the way. They don't find part of the wall.
The one that you look down, there's pillars.
No, that's the corridor. That was Roman. Oh no, but
is it up to that?
I'm going to tell you like this. It's very easy. When you go down that stretch, which has the burgers bar and the ice cream stuff and the bank, right, and the Mizrahi ATM or whatever. We always make a left, right? When we start going towards the Churva, right? When we go out. Just keep on going straight. 100 meters. It goes straight. There's like a restaurant, a Chalavi restaurant, Chalavi.
They're all pizza shops.
a dairy restaurant, like right in front of you, right before the big square in the old city. You veer to the right, just like veer to the right.
Little corridor
and get this little. It's not a tiny one. So you keep on going, and it's like a little walkway. On the right, you'll see a wall. There's like a dig of a wall there. It's big. That may have been that middle wall we see here. That middle wall we're talking about. Okay. Wow. So I mean, just next time you're there, I suggest you guys take it. It's like 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes. You walk around. Right. Well, so again, you have to remember it's right, but it goes down.
Call it a city.
In the olden days, it was a city. What are we gonna do? But right.
How many people would have lived in there?
So we're gonna see that. We're gonna see that.
40,000 people.
40,000? I'm thinking about 300 or 200.
People or 200,000?
200 people.
We're gonna have to
because the Aliyah says that we're like.
Yeah, but we're gonna see they're not in Yerushalayim. Most of them are not. We'll see. They're not in Yerushalayim. Nehemiah is gonna have to import people into Yerushalayim because the city is so big. Bro, he's really not going to import them. Exactly, it's empty. He's going to have to bring people in to build the city. Okay?
You should call some. Never mind.
Okay, but first of all, what we learned now is just really important for a lot of things, even in halacha, to learn where was Yerushalayim, how it works. When you read things, to just now suddenly have a picture in your minds of what Yerushalayim looked like, it's really, really important. Okay, there are a lot of things that happen. Even learning Tanakh, and you learn about Yerushalayim. Well, where was it? How was it? Then you should know that the weak point of Yerushalayim is the north. The north is always the weak part because Yerushalayim's all on a slant, sort of. It starts here and goes down. So coming from the north, you're always on the vantage. You're always on the top. You're always on from the mouth. It's always been conquered from the north. So Yerushalayim that's the danger. So we'll see there they build a big tower, Shar HaMe'ah. It was one of the first in Migdal HaMe'ah, the Tower of the 100. What is the Tower of the 100? Some people, 100 people. One of the Perushim is that 100 people guarded there. That's a large guard. Always 100 people. That's right. Usually a guard tower has, 5, 10 people, maybe 15 if it's really big. 100 Shar HaMe'ah, one of the Shittot, again, one of the commentaries is that there were always 100 people there, because that is the most vulnerable position in Yerushalayim. It always has been. Okay? So that's just important to understand also. Now when you look at the right, and you go look at the topography. Thank you. Topography of the thing. You see, it's like a cliff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. It's like a cliff there, right? Mm-hmm. On the right, on the eastern front, it's really a cliff. The other side of when you come with the one bus that comes around, it goes down from the walls. It goes down. It's very hard. You can't even imagine right between Har HaZeitim, the Mount of Olives, and Harabait and Yerushalayim. It's there's a valley and then the cliff. It's harder to come from there. You would have to go down and up. And you see that whole eastern flank is guarded. It has that on it. It has the cliff there, and then it comes up. If you guys can see also, if you go up right just from that sort of point at the bottom where it says to you guys Shar Ha'ayin and Brechat HaShiloach, right? You see Shar Ha'ayin on the right by Shar HaShpot, where Shar HaShpot is right above that. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the bottom point of the city, and then it goes up, and it's also very steep. So the walls use the steepness of the mountain to give it a more strength. The only problem, of course, is the north, where the north is just open. It's just a plateau that you just come in there.
So,
okay.
The wall that was built was from Tet until Hay.
Right. That's what it seems like. Right. From Tet to Hay, straight down. From Tet to Hay, that's where it seems. That's the city. Okay. And that makes sense that's what the Jews built, because we're going to see they built this wall. Mm-hmm. It's not in this parak, but they built the whole wall in 52 days. Okay. Right? To think that they built that whole wall, when we're going to see soon that they're going to be under attack, and they have to build it with their weapons on, with their armor on, one hand holding a sword and one hand building.
Doesn't sound too fun. It
doesn't sound too fun, but it also sounds very implausible that it was the large, huge wall, especially when we're going to see afterwards that there just weren't so many people, Bichlal.
Exactly.
Okay? Involved in this whole thing. It really, really gives us more of a push towards this. Again, there are other shittot, there are other ideas. I also saw in some
cheap labor either. It was all themselves.
Right, exactly. It's them. They're not hiring anyone.
No advanced machinery.
Like the West Bank.
No Arabs to hire and build the wall. That is those. There are songs I'll bring you from the early pioneers' days where they quote what we're going to read next chapter. Mamash, they quote the They said that's what they were doing. They were building and they had neshek. Mamash, echad leechad. Mamash, but that we'll see next chapter. Okay, now we're really dealing just with the building of the wall. Okay, and so now we have the picture, right? Is everyone okay with the picture of Yerushalayim? Sort of sees it in their mind, sees how the building is, sees east, north, west, south. Now let's go into the different parts of the parak. Again, we're not going to go through the whole thing because we can't go into every little part. Just a basic statement is very important to understand that there are two words which are used here again and again and again. There's the word vayivnu and the word vayichazku. They built and they strengthened. We have to realize that much of the wall is built. It's just broken down. It needs to be strengthened. So every time it says vayichazku, it means they strengthened the walls, however they did that. Yeah. When it says vayivnu, it means they built it. They know there was nothing there, and they built it. Okay? So that just helps to understand why it goes back and forth. And we'll see most of the gates, they're going to livnot. They're going to build, because the gates are destroyed, mamash. The wall is harder to destroy, mamash. So
they're never there, and they're putting gates in a place.
Or exactly, or they're new gates. That's correct. And so that's why often those are the terms as we go through. But let's start with the very beginning, okay? Sharatzon, the first person who goes to build is Eliyahu. Now we're back to verse 1. Back to chapter 3, verse 1. As we are wont to do, we read the whole chapter, and then we go back, and then it takes a bunch of lessons till we get through it again. But hopefully B'ezrat Hashem, we'll get through most of this chapter today, at least until the enemies. So Eliashiv Kohen HaGadol, is the first one who gets up and they build Shar Hatzon. But not only did they build it, it says Hema Kidshuhu. You see the word? They sanctified it. And they put its doors until the Tower of the 100 that we just talked about, Kidshu ad Migdal Hananel, which is another tower. Now we're not exactly sure where these towers are. They're somewhere in the north, right? In the northern part, we said that's where we have to really strengthen the city. But I want to more put the dagesh here, put the emphasis on who's building and what they did here. Eliashiv HaKohen HaGadol. The first person who comes up to build is the Kohen Gadol, him and his family. They start building. That does something to the people. Now, in other words, who begins to build a wall? It could be anyone. We're going to see a lot of names that come up here in the future. We don't know them. We'll never hear about them again. But when the Kohen Gadol says, I am going to build, what does that do to all the other people? What does that do to everyone else?
If the rabbi gets away from his books and starts building, it encourages them to start building.
For sure. If he's building, who am I not to? Right? If he says if he's part of it, then of course we're going to do it. But it's not only that. They sanctify. This word vayikachu doesn't appear too much in the. I don't know if it appears again at all. Let's take a look at what that means. Okay, so we have two shitot here. The Malbim was the first one on your page in lesson 19. Not on the page with the map. The next page that we gave out today. I didn't give it out today. It's right here. Here. Let's take a look here. So we have two perushim of what Hema Kidshuhu means. They sanctified it. We're going to see the Malbim and the Metzudat David, who explain it in different ways. Okay? So,
Can you give me one more? I'll show this. So I have. Yeah, you got to give it to me. Who needs one more? Some guy.
It's hard work.
no, I have one. Okay. Beseder. So this Malbim, first of all, gives us a quick view of. He takes us on a tour. So the Malbim does a tour here, just that we just did. He takes us on a tour around Yerushalayim, and he goes like this: "Vayivnu et Shar Hatzon." Here, the Shar Hatzon was in the middle of the east, and then they started building north way, and from the north to the west, and from the west they went down east on the southern side, until they came again to Shar Hatzon. Really, the wall ends up Shuv at Shar Hatzon. Right, they make a sivuv, they make a circle. Migdal Hananel היה בצפון לשער Hatzon. So Migdal Hananel is a little more north than Shar Hatzon, and then even more north is the big tower Migdal HaMe'ah that we talked about. And then there was Shar Dagim.
Migdal is tower?
Yeah. And then there was Shar Dagim, there was the Dagim gate. Why the Dagim gate is not exactly sure why it's called the Dagim gate. Apparently that's where it was, the fish market. That's probably why it was. So why did they start from Shar Hatzon? Why was that the beginning? That was parallel to Beit HaMikdash, to Beit Elohim. That was the closest entrance in that sense
what they wanted
to
to
Beit
defend
Elohim.
the most.
And that's what they wanted to, maybe that's what they defend, but he goes on and he says, and later we'll see in chapter 12, it's again mentioned, so they sanctified it because it was the entrance to Beit HaMikdash.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it's sanctified. They sanctified this gate. But the Metzudat David goes on and says, Kidshuhu bapeh liot kadosh b'kedushat ha'ir. And here he brings us into a whole different game, the Metzudat David. He says, in this short sentence, he says, they sanctified it in their mouth, and it was an active sanctification. They said, this is now kadosh. So it will be sanctified with the holiness of the city. And here we come to a whole new term, that there is a kedusha of the Mikdash and a kedusha of the city. The city itself has kedusha.
Then why did they not mitkadesh every gate? They're
going to they sanctify the whole city as they go around in chapter 12. They will actually do that action. Okay, but it's an interesting that the city has kedusha. Yerushalayim has kedusha. Chazal in a very famous Mishnah when they talk about the shlavim of kedusha in Eretz Yisrael, they start Eretz Yisrael is kadosh from all the countries. Yerushalayim is kadosh of all the cities, and then they start talking level after level in Yerushalayim, inside the walls. And then from here to here, and then Har HaBayit, and then inside the Mikdash, until you get to Kodesh HaKodeshim, right? Until you get to each level of Kedusha means something halachically, not just spiritually and idealistically. Halachically, he can come here, he can do this. Once you come into the walls, you can eat korbanot, you can do this, Maaser Sheni, all kinds of interesting things. So therefore, when they start making the wall, this isn't just a wall. This wall has mitzvah significance. This wall has halachic ramifications. And if they add anything to the wall, as they're doing some little parts of these in additions to the old wall, then they have to sanctify it or re-sanctify it. And there's a huge machloket here in the Gemara already, whether the first sanctification that Shlomo and then Yoshua ben Nun, whatever, when they came into the Eretz for the first time, the first sanctification, Shlomo Beikar, is now sanctified forever, or they have to re-sanctify it as they come in. And what exactly are they doing? Are they re-sanctifying? Are they? How does it work? But whatever it is, and we'll see later, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have a whole shiur about it. We'll see later how it's very important. It's very important that the walls, when you come into the Yerushalayim, you've gone up a notch. And it will it will mean a lot when we know which part of Yerushalayim. Is the northern part that Chizkiyahu added also part of that? Is it just the what do you say, Tet Tehei wall, right? Is that the only part? Where is that where they're talking about? What exactly does ups you up a notch when you come into Yerushalayim? Where exactly is Yerushalayim? But it seems here that they're saying that Shar Atzon that they're making now, that is part of the Kedusha of Yerushalayim. Okay, that's the mitzvah that David says. The Malbi may hint that it may be part of the Kedusha of Bet HaMikdash. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what the Malbi says. Nochach Bet Elohim. It is like the entrance. It is parallel to the Beit Elohim. It may be part of the Mikdash. They have that Kedusha, which is a higher level than the city, which sounds like the mitzvah that David is talking about. Kadosh b'Kedusha Ta'ir. Okay, so these are just terms again that we have to learn here. That this is Nehemiah is rebuilding something that has real religious significance. In other words, if this is now part of Yerushalayim, well, we could eat korbanot here. Wow. This is something else. We don't. Right? Do you guys know that there are korbanot that can only be eaten in the area of the Mikdash Pesach, Machon? But shlamim, all the shlamim. Shlamim are the korbanot that people eat. People eat that you're allowed, that a regular person can eat.
The 3 times you come up.
Right.
Those can only be in.
Right. That's what it would be called. Yeah. Right. So those right, but those are the shlamim that you could eat, the chagigot that you could eat in the whole city. So there, well, where can we eat it? Can we eat in we just built this? Can we? So that's what it says.
Doesn't this also show us how completely it was destroyed? Because otherwise, you would imagine there's some kind of blueprint, right? When they're going and following the walls.
Well, they are following the walls, but there are probably areas like the north where the Bavlim came in from, where that was completely decimated. And that they have to vayivnu. They have to really build it. There's nothing there. They have to build this and decide where the gates will be. Okay. So now the wall keeps on going, okay? And different people are building it. So let's just take a look at a couple of them. So really, right after that, Al Yado, which seems to be next in line. Al Yado means next to, right? When I say now in modern day Hebrew, Al Yadi, it means Al Yadi. Here's my hand, you're next to my hand. It seems it's just following, it starts going to the east. To the west. Anshe Yericho, they're the first people who build afterwards, right? Al Yado banu Anshe Yericho. The people of Yericho, they're not from here, Bichlal, they're not from Yerushalayim, but they come and they start building also. And that's another statement, because Yericho is a really special place. Yericho was the first city captured by Am Yisrael when they came in. And the people of Yericho seem to be saying here, let's do this again. Let's do this again. Just like we were the first, just like our city was the first city we want it to be also. Now it's very interesting, Yericho, you're not allowed to build Yericho, right?
Yeah,
You guys remember,
it says
Yeshua
not
said
to.
you're not allowed to, and even give a curse. Whoever rebuilds Yericho, so that's interesting to think about. So what are they doing in Yericho in the first place if they're there? But we could say there are a couple explanations. They were around Yericho, or maybe the Goyim built Yericho bentayim and they could live there, right? We weren't allowed to rebuild it, but once it's rebuilt, we could live in it. Whatever it is, there's symbolism in the fact that they're coming to build. Yes, Monty.
But is there not the story that this curse was coming to place one time?
Okay, good. Achav's time.
One guy rebuilt it, and his oldest and his youngest died.
Correct.
No,
That's right.
all of his kids died.
All of his kids died. The first one dies, he rebuilds it again. Then the next one, then the next
No.
one.
From the beginning of when he starts building, the oldest dies, and when he finishes, the youngest dies. That's what I understood.
All the kids died.
Right? Yeah. From the building till the end. Yeah, they all die. Right. Exactly as Yoshua said. Right. Yes, that's in Achav's time. Correct. Right. So that's what I was saying. So possibly the Goyim built it, the city, and Jews weren't allowed to rebuild the city. Once it's rebuilt, you can live in it. That's one explanation. The other is Yericho has like these areas around it. We'll see a term that's used later in here also. Anyway, but to bring Yericho in the beginning has, for anyone who has ears of coming back to Eretz Yisrael, okay, Yericho is an important city. The Chachamim call it the gateway to Eretz Yisrael, the key. That's what they say, which made it so horrifying when the first thing we gave away to the Palestinians was Yericho. Anyone who learns Torah, and that was the first city we caught, we came in through, and it's the Chachamim call it the gate, the key to Eretz Yisrael, and that was the first thing we gave away. Woo! Yeah,
So,
Ken.
whose administration had control of the Israeli state when that
Rabbi.
decision? Rabbi, and he was a Hiloni.
All of our heads of state until wait, no, he's right. All the heads of state until Bennett were Chilonim. He's
Begin was kind of
Begin was Masorati.
religious orientation.
Definitely. Begin had.
Chilonim also it's like
Well, they were all older Chilonim. Older Chilonim, it's a different tfisa than Chilonim now. The Tov u'Lemutav. Some of them knew and were moldim, they were revolting against. Some were not. Hashem is moving everything here, so we're just on the ride. We're going for the ride here. Baruch Hashem. Niflaim Maaseh Hashem.
what's Chilonim?
Secular.
Oh.
Like they're not even a high holiday Jew. They're secular.
It's a big spectrum.
No. It's a big it's a very big
Bennett
spectrum.
is still Chiloni.
Let's leave. Even though I go into politics every so often, let's leave it out for now, and let's go on. Okay, the next group I'm sorry that I have to go into are the Tekoim. Okay, it's just because I'm from Tekoa. We're not mentioned that much in the Tanakh, but here we are in an interesting pasuk.
Is it the same location?
Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah. Okay, and this is in verse 5. Verse 5 it says, "Val yadam ichziku atkoim," the people from Tekoa. And then there's a really weird statement. Ve'adirehem lo hiviu tzavaram ba'avodat adonehem. Give me a translation, people. Verse Hey, the second half of the verse.
Next to them, the Tekoites reinforced.
Repaired.
They're not put
It's
their
a
next to the labor of their Lord.
Okay, wait, but they what?
They did
Not
not
put
try
their
as hard
necks
as they could in the
To the
field.
laborers of their Lord.
So they're very interesting words here. Adirehem. That's how it starts. Their adirim, which usually is like a great person, didn't bring their necks into the servitude of their lords. Who are the adirim? Who are the lords here? What servitude are they talking about? What is going on in this pasuk? And we have quite a few explanations. Let's start with Rashi. On your page here, you can see Rashi, and there's before that there are 3 perushim. There's the Malbi, Mitzidat David, the Ralbag. Let's start with Rashi because he's in English, okay? But their mighty men, the wealthy men of Tekoa, that's Adirehem, okay? What about them? Did not bring their neck. They did not assist in the service of the Holy One, blessed be He, to build the wall of the city. What Rashi is saying here is, unfortunately, not the happy things about Tekoa. It says there were Tekoans who built, but not the rich people. They did not build. They said, we're not building there. You guys build. We're not, whatever reason it was, they didn't want to build it. And then wasting my money, my time. It seems to be a negative term about but that statement brings us a new perspective that the building of the wall was not necessarily so agreed upon by the people of the area. Now, Tzkoa is not far from Yerushalayim. It took me 27 minutes, 25 minutes to get here from my house, even though going by car goes a little quicker. But it's close by. It's not far. Really, to walk it would not even take that long.
From Tekoa?
From Tekoa to Yerushalayim. Again, it's really straight. You go straight down the road, and you
I'll walk it next year.
Don't walk it, please, unless you have a gun. And even then, I'm not sure you should walk it.
Yeah.
But they did. Not everyone joined in, and suddenly we hear, it seems like this great group effort. And you're like, 1 second. Not everyone joined this group effort, and not everyone was invested.
Well, it seems like only the people that didn't have something better to do.
No, Yeshiva Kohen Gadol probably had other better things to do.
I'm obviously excluding him.
No.
When it talks about the wealthy people, those are people with jobs that are working and are in the
Interesting.
business field.
So it could be. In other words, you're taking this and saying a greater statement. It really does call us to say a greater statement. It's interesting
the greatest men, spiritually, not economically speaking, they obviously
were involved.
The value of it. Thus, you have people like Nehemiah, probably the greatest in the generation, coming down and building it himself. Same time, though, the actual people, they didn't really care so much. It was just the people that really didn't have anything to lose.
So it could be. Yeshua's taking it all the way.
Names, only one of them says they didn't.
Right. So we're going back and forth here. In other words, why is this mentioned? And that would be the sentence. According to Rashi, okay, beseder. So some people didn't build. Why is this important to bring out here? Why is this so? As people who are learning Tanakh, we have to ask ourselves, why is this mentioned? What are they wanting to say? So, and I believe at least one option is, Shua brought it very powerfully to saying, so probably all the rich people are like, you know what? You guys build. We have things to do. We have work. You can't stop working for 52 days. It's a long time. Even though it's a short time to build a wall, it's a long time in the middle of your life to stop, 52-day hiatus of going off and building the walls. It's a long time.
2 months.
Yeah, who takes 2 months off there when you have fields? You can't just leave things.
2 months is not a long time.
So there are two ways to look at it. If you have fields and you're working the fields, 2 months is a long
How
time.
long did Nehemiah take off?
That's 12 years.
But if you're directly in a work, you can't take simply off in 2 months. It's not possible.
Right.
He just took off 12
the boss
years.
will go crazy.
So this is what Shua was saying at first, is that these people said no. And it could be. And of course, this could be bringing out the Tkoins as an example of a place that the rich people didn't join in. Or we could say, of course, that this is a Yotzei Min HaKlal. Now, all the other places we're going to be talking about, places, people, it was from everyone. In Tekoa, there were individuals you should know who didn't join, just so you know that it wasn't unanimous. Right? It's like, it wasn't everyone,
Or
not
just so
everyone.
they can't come back and claim they had a mistake in it.
Maybe, even though people of Tekoa
This
built
isn't being written for now, it's being written
But it says
for
for
posterity.
everybody, So
only they're rich, meaning the average Tekoan.
That's what it said. No, Ichziku Atkoim. That's what it says. Al Yadam Ichziku Atkoim. For sure. That's the first part of the sentence.
But a selection of them.
Right. So the Adirehem lo hivyutzer, according to Rashi, because we're going to see other Perushim that say something very differently. Okay? But that was Rashi. So let's take a look at the Malbim. The Malbim is going to go off legamra. And he goes like this. Yesh lomar perusho. We have to say that its Perush is like this.
where's the moment?
The Malbim is above that. Okay? Yesh lomar perusho mipnei she'amar bepasuk zayin, because it said in verse 7 in front of us, she'anshei Givon v'Mitzpah hayu tachat yad pchat ever hanahar. The people of Givon and Mitzpah were subjected to the Trans-Euphrates region government. They were not governed. These are cities right by Yerushalayim. They were still governed by someone else, not by Nehemiah. We talked about this, the Malbim Shita, right? That there's like overlaps of government inside Israel. Some of the Jews were on the right. Remember in the very beginning when he said the Anotarim Me'ashevi, right? The Malbim's Perush was that there are parts of Am Yisrael that never transferred over to the new Jewish state. They were still subservient to the existing Peshites. I don't know how you say it, the governments of that area. So he says, just like these two places were under Pchat Evrei Adar, because they sat in Yehuda Mikedem, because they were still there since before the destruction of Yerushalayim. V'im ken gam atkoim, shehem gam koim lo alu b'yimei Koresh. The Tkoim, we've never heard the name of Tkoa until now. They must have also been here from then. They weren't exiled. They were Yashvusha Mikedem. They were always there from. They were there from before.
Like this explanation.
They were under the hand of that government. רק שהם לא הביאו צווארם בעבודת אדוניהם, מפני שהיו אדירים, והיו חופשים לעצמם. He says they weren't subservient so much to that other government, because they were powerful people in their own rights, and they were free to themselves. I have to put this up in my house.
So
They were powerful people and they were free to themselves. What?
Do you think that this government is going to be different than theirs, and they're not going to let them do what they want them to do? So, in order to make sure that doesn't happen, they don't build or something?
No, they can't build because they're being controlled by someone else. Even if they want to build, they can't.
So
Am I
what?
understanding
No,
that?
they're saying that they were not given, they were not allowed to build, and they said no, we're going to build anyway. Now, even though they were subservient, they decided to build anyway. That's the first perush. That's the first option that he gives here. Now he gives another. Gam yesh lomar perusho. There's another way to explain. Shatkoim haya lehem ish sar alehem, vehu v'anashav banu b'makom zeh. אבל היו בהם כת אדירים שלא רצו לשמוע לפקודת השר אדוניהם, והם התחלקו בנו בפני עצמם. In other words, there were groups in Tekoa. There was the guy in charge, but part of them didn't want to build with the guy in charge. And they said, no, we don't want to do it. We want to build by ourselves. I really have to bring this to Tekoa. This is so Tekoa. You say, no, but I don't want to do it. I want to build my way. That's exactly. And they banu bifnei atzmam. They went and they built themselves. Okay? כמו שכתב בפסוק כ"ז, אחריו החזיקו התקועים מידה שנית. In verse 27, in this chapter, again the Tkoim are going to be mentioned, that they do again. Midah shenit, they build again. So he says, look, so apparently they weren't so together, right? So va'adirehem, the rich people, lo hiviu tzavaram ba'avodat adoneim. The master who started building in the first part of the verse, al yadam ichziku atkoim, but some of them guys said, no, we want to build ourselves. They were the free thinkers. They were no, we don't want to build like you. We want very good. Gimel, Dalet, hey, we want to build ourselves, and that's what they did. Wow, I really have to bring this perush to Tekoa. You guys don't understand how Tekoa this is.
Well, from what I hear,
What? I'm sorry, Ezra?
I heard that there's new more houses in Aleph.
Yeah, Aleph is much bigger. Aleph is much bigger.
They're building more in Aleph, I've been told.
Yeah, for sure. That's what you're allowed to build. So that's the Malbim's perush. Okay, it gives two different perushim exactly who. So either they were holding out against the other governments that they were under and they built anyway, or within themselves there were some who wanted to build this way and some who wanted to build this way. The Metzudat David says, "Vadirehem ashirei ha'ir." Right? The Metzudat David is right under the Malbim. It says Mem Tzadik Vav Dalet. It's a Rashi Tevot. Adirem is Ashirei Ha'ir, which reminds us of Rashi. Lo hiviu tzavaram nimshoch be'ol masa avodat habinyan, shehu avodat ha'adon Hashem, ki habinyan hazeh mitzvah yichashev. So he says Kmo Rashi, but he gives us a better picture, even though Rashi did say it also. Who is the Adonehem? Who is their master? Not the master of the city, like the Malbim explained. Not the master. It's Hashem. They weren't willing to put their heads in the yoke of Hashem. That they're not willing. They're tzavaram, right? Lo hiviu tzavaram. Who brings your neck? When you bring your neck, that's when you're putting on a yoke, right? We've talked about a yoke before a couple times, right? Yirmiyahu comes in with the yoke, right? That holds the oxen in place. They weren't willing to do that.
does this sound like Tekoa?
Sure it does. Okay? They weren't willing. No, but here they're saying we're not willing to do it. Again, Rashi's perush it's a derogatory statement. It's not beseder. But what the Ralbag says, "Va'adirim lo hiviu tzavaram b'avadat oneim la'azor lo bezeh habinyan, o yirtze bezeh," or it may say, "שהתקיפים שבהם, שלא היה יכול אדוניהם למשול בהם, שהביאו צווארם בעבודתו, שהם התנדבו במניין החומה. So he says exactly the powerful of them, that their leaders couldn't command them, they also built the wall. It's almost they're definitely agreeing that there's some problem with hierarchy happening here. In other words, they're not listening to the people who are in charge, but one side, Rashi explains it, and therefore they didn't build. The Malbim and the Ralbag said, but they built in their own way. They built on their own. There seemed to be authority problems in Tekoa, but they managed, but either they did build or they didn't build according to this situation, which again brings us into this question. In other words, the building of the walls was an issue. I think this is for us in our terms of viewing the chapter in a greater term. It's not so simple. Rather saying he built and he built and he built and he built. You should know there were inner politics happening here too. Who's building? Who's in charge? How do we build? It wasn't always so pashut in building, and the Tekoans are used. They're the only ones that says this so far. They're the only ones who really cause problems. But it seems like not always did it go so simply, and there were arguments within the cities. Who's going to go? Who's going to pay? Who's going to work here? So it wasn't always so simple. But even so, the work continues. Okay, and let's go on here. Let's go Machel. Okay, the idea of verse 8. Okay, ועל החזיקו זיהו בן חרחי הצורפים, ולדו החזיק חנניה מרקחים, ויעזבו ירושלים עד החומה הרחבה, until the wide wall. And this is what some of the people want to say. That's that wall going down the middle. The wide wall is that tet tehei wall that we were talking about. That's the wide wall. It was a large, massive wall. You should go see it. It's very wide.
Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there. It's under the city now. It's all ruled, but they dug it out right where I told you guys to go. To go up there and to the right, you'll see it. It's pretty wide. I think it's called the Hashmonai wall now, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Chizkiyahu's wall. I'm not sure what they call it now. That possibly, according to this, was the wide wall that they're building. There are terms here that we have of different hierarchy in Yerushalayim. There is Sar Chetzi Pelech Yerushalayim, the minister of half of the area of Yerushalayim, and then there's another minister of another half of Yerushalayim, and these things apparently were divided up very, there was a lot of hierarchy in Yerushalayim. He's in charge of. It's sort of like a mayor, like when I felt that when we were in Cleveland, like there was University Heights, and then Cleveland Heights, and then Beechwood, and they're neighborhoods. They're like a little street divides, and suddenly you're in a different neighborhood, has a different mayor, has a different. Well, I guess all of America is sort of like that. You're like, you pass a street and suddenly you're somewhere else. And it's like new laws, new taxes, new everything. So, right, I'm right? That's the way it was.
Does Olive have different...
No. So it doesn't. But in Israel, it's not quite as common to see it so. I guess in the big cities, maybe a little more. But even so, there's Iriyat Yerushalayim. You don't have Iriyat Harnof and Iriyat Givat Shaul and Iriyat Kiryat Moshe. It doesn't matter. But in America it was like that, and apparently it was like that in Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim was like divided up into these little parts, and each time there was like he's in charge of this, and he's in charge of this, and Chetzi Pelech, half of the life, and he's in charge of the other half. And each one of them was part of the building here, just to understand. Another term that happens here is Midah Shenit. It says a bunch of times, Midah Shenit. And Midah Shenit may mean they built the equal amount as the people before them. And they say they built, and they built Midah Shenit. They built the same thing again. Midah Shenit means the second measure. So you could say it's a second measure like you, I doubled you. Or Midah Shenit may be they built again. They built once and then they built again. Midah Shenit. The same people built again, or another people built again, a second time. Okay? So these are two perushim. No, continue. They built one third part and then they built again. The wall needed help. They built one and then they built again. You have people, and this again happens in almost every group. People are very enthusiastic. They do more than their part. They'll do it, and they'll see, right? They're building, and they do it, and they finish their part, and then they look around, and they say, oh, there's something missing. So some people say, I did my thing, I'm not building again. What are you talking about? Why should I build again? Right? Anyone know any of those people? No, the people, right?
Oh,
No, not only kids, Ariel, unfortunately. I did my part. I'm doing it. Someone else should do it. And they did. They built. It's not easy to build. We'll see. It's not easy to build. They build, and the funding. We're not exactly sure where the funding is coming from here.
What like today was this big blocks?
They're going to be building with the old rocks, part of it, and probably bringing in other rocks to build.
No.
I'm not. They're not the kotel. We're not talking kotel blocks.
Like the old wall, like by Jaffa, even next to Jaffa, the wall was this huge blocks.
So I can't imagine they're huge blocks of stone.
Nowadays.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. No, I can't.
If a family can't
Right.
carry this,
We're not talking. We cannot. It cannot be. They're talking about that side of stone. I agree with you. I mean, it doesn't say, but it can't be.
This is the reason why I asked this.
I agree. They're probably smaller stones, but
Not
again,
professional masons.
no, exactly. It's not Beit HaMikdash. It's not the kotel. When you go to see the kotel, that huge, bidiuk. No, we're not talking about that kind
You
of
put
wall.
Scotch tape here.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Whatever. Bring in what you can. Okay. So that's another term that's important for us to see. And the third one, there are two other terms I'd like to see. Okay? One is verse 12. Take a look at verse 12. It says, Val yado ichzik shalom ben alochesh sar chetzi pelech Yerushalayim hu uvnotav. Him, his, and his daughters.
Yeah.
Now there are two perushim here.
Very interesting
Right.
also.
So one interesting perush that you can go into, hu uvnotav, is he came with his daughters. In other words, this wasn't just a building. This was a family event, not like a family going to Disney World, but this is a family event that something important is happening here. Now, I want my family involved here. He came and he said, daughters, even though lichora, this is a manly thing to do. Again, we're talking 2,000 years ago. We're not into. But this is a manly thing to build a wall. I want my family involved in what's happening here. This is an event. This is a spiritual, national event that my family has to be involved in. This is not pashut building a wall. And he brings his family. Now, that's one perush. It's interesting. The other perush is going to be much more realistic. And huv notav, it also says there were often like cities and then little villages around the city. Bnotav, they call that also Bnotav. Its daughters are these little villages that were around, little hamlets around the main one. So here this guy is Sar Chatzi Pelech Yerushalayim Hu Bnotav. The little villages near Yerushalayim, which may have also been under his jurisdiction, also come up. Two different perushim. As I said, in this class we love perushim. Okay, the more the merrier. But again, every perush in my mind, they're not necessarily soter.
They don't need to go together.
No, the other way. They don't necessarily contradict each other. They bring us two different aspects, even though the one we saw, the Rashi and the Malbim before, about what the Kohanes did, it seemed to be more contradictory. And last, very, very important part, Nehemiah uses his wisdom. As it says many times, you can take it for the first time in verse 23. It's not the only time. And actually, it's not the first time. Because the first time it says in Pasuk Yud, in verse 10. It says, Ve'al yadam ichzik Yadaya ben Charumaf v'neged beito. That's mul, across from his house. Opposite his house. And then we'll see it happen a whole bunch of times. Pasuk Kaf Gimel. Kaf Gimel twice. Kaf Daled.
The people they're lazy. They're going to fix
No.
their part of it.
So it's not lazy. So it could be lazy. But I think it's more. In other words, Nehemiah uses his pashut wisdom and says, listen, it's your house right here. That's the wall. If you want to not be the weak link in the chain, you better build that wall. And the people had a motivation to build that wall, and you know that when you're building your wall, that wall is going to be fine. They're going to find their way into Yerushalayim some other way, the enemies. They're not coming in through here, right? If it was up to you, and it goes into the psychology of every one of us, right? If you're building something for everyone, and suddenly you come to your place, well, you're going to put in the extra effort to make sure it's nice, right? I mean, this is shot of human nature.
But one says etzel beito.
That's right. That may have been part. They may have been part of the wall already. There are houses in the wall, like Rachav, right? When they go into Yericho, she's on the wall. So there's neged beito etzel. It could have been part of the wall itself. In other words, his house was like right on the wall. Obviously, also the people on the wall, they realize they're in danger. The wall is so much more important for them than the people living inside in the middle. Because we talked about in the past how people have been raiding Yerushalayim. Right? They've been raiding Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim's been a place that's been taken. People are coming in, taking their gold all the time, taking their money, taking their daughters, taking who knows what. The people on the walls are in danger. So when Nehemiah says, listen, you build here, they listen. Yeah.
Yes, they feel more responsible, I think, when they build next to the house.
For sure.
And if you build in a different place, I built. But it's next, they feel the connection to their responsibility.
100%, and that's what Nehemiah uses, and just it brings that out of them, for them to build their place. Just makes a lot of sense. The people whose houses were there, he makes it who were able to, because we see a lot of the wall, they weren't able.
And all these families and these individuals, we know they're from how many years back? From the time of when Ezra came, we say, or before.
It's a great question. We'll see later when he suddenly looks around and doesn't see anyone. We don't know exactly when they came. They're probably over the time they've come into Yerushalayim and settled there. Again, Yerushalayim was supposed to be the city. As we've seen since we started learning Nehemiah, we suddenly have a different view of Yerushalayim. It's a different picture of Yerushalayim than we had when we first thought Korah said to go back and build the Mikdash. We sort of never really thought it out, what that means to build a Mikdash without building a city. What does that mean?
But these are not those who are sitting here for 200 years remnant.
No. Yeah. So chutz the people that the Malbi mentioned that may have been the ones, but no, yeah. Right. Because for sure.
Finally they're getting their
Machon. Even though they may have given up before Nehemiah came, right? They may have been in despair. Tov. Okay. So here he says like this. Let's just summarize here. The Dat Mikra gives an overview here, and he says like this. Al kol panim barur. Whatever it comes out clear. Ki yoshvei Yerushalayim harishonim. The people who sat in Yerushalayim, they built the wall by their houses that were close to the Mikdash. It comes out that most of the wall was built by the people who sit in Yerushalayim. They did mention other people, but most of the wall was built by the people of Yerushalayim themselves. The heads of the city, the rochlim, the merchants, the goldsmiths, the netinim, right? The ones, the netinim, remember the netinim, the givonim, the people who lived in Yerushalayim, who served the Mikdash. Al yadei ze yuvan, and here we could see why a lot of the people had to do twice, because they were building. Now the Dat Mikra reads this as a critique of the people sitting in Judea at the time. Not that many people joined this building here. People had to do double, right? You always feel bad when you have to do double. I did my part, but now I see, it's open. Where's everybody? You ever have that feeling when you guys are doing something? Even here in the yeshiva, right? You're doing something, you're like, you know what? Where is everybody? Right? It's a basic feeling at my house. When we're cleaning for Shabbat and you look up and you're like, 1 second. I have 8 kids. Where are they? What is going on here?
The one day a week you walk them around the house.
Yeah, then you're like, yeah, exactly. But what's going on here? Where is everybody? And that feeling is not a good feeling. But you have a job, so you do it. So they did it. But the Dat Mikra is pulling in here, and he says at the end of the day, sort of like he did the end of Sefer Ezra, if you guys remember, the very end of Ezra, when he said, 1 second, count the names of the people here of who separated from their non-Jewish wives. That's not so many. They said that most of the people were intermarrying. They're only, 115 or 35. I don't remember how many names there were. He said, where is everybody? That's how he ended Sefer Ezra. So here he ends this chapter also saying, well, don't get too excited. They are building, and the wall gets up to the half, as we said. But it seems like Nehemiah's enthusiasm and how he's bringing them into it is working, but it's still not 100%. We'll see in chapter 5 that there are other problems happening with the people, and Bezrat Hashem, when we get there, we'll see other parts. So that's it. We're done with the wall, understanding the wall. They've gotten half of the wall, and now we're going to see the enemies who are now really unhappy. If they were unhappy before that, now it's time to act. Okay, so they're going to start moving ahead. When we read the end of this chapter and the beginning of the next chapter, it's really dealing with how you deal with building when you're under attack. Morally, psychologically, we'll see they're really good. These people, they know what they're doing, and even an actual attempt. Bezrat Hashem. Yofi.